Epicurean Gnosticism. The meeting point between Gnostic theology and Epicurean philosophy is rarely acknowledged, but the ancient critics of heresies themselves observed the connection. Both schools of thought, though worlds apart in their aims, intersected on crucial questions: the nature of the divine, the character of the cosmos, the constitution of the soul, and the reality of providence. What emerges is a picture of Epicurean Gnosticism, a fusion where Gnostic speculation absorbed, echoed, or adapted elements from Epicurean physics and theology. 1. The Bythos in Epicurean repose. Tertullian ridicules the Gnostic doctrine of the Bythos by comparing it directly with Epicurean theology. Open quote. Let it, however, be granted that this Bythos of theirs existed in the infinite ages of the past in the greatest and profoundest repose, in the extreme rest of a placid and, if I may use the expression, stupid divinity, such as Epicurus has enjoined upon us. And yet, although they would have him be alone, they assign to him a second person in himself and with himself, Enea, thought, which they also call both charis, grace, and si, silence. Other things, as it happened, conduced in this most agreeable repose to remind him of the need of by and by producing out of himself the beginning of all things. Tertullian, close quote. Here Tertullian accuses the Gnostics of borrowing Epicurus' concept of the divine, a god entirely at rest, uninvolved, and without care for the world. Epicurus described the gods as blessed and immortal beings, removed from human affairs. The Gnostic Bythos depth, in its eternal stillness, mirrors this ideal of detached divinity. Yet the Gnostics complicate it. Bythos does not remain alone, but generates Enoa, breaking the pure self-sufficiency that Epicurus required. Still, the charge reveals that even Christian critics saw Epicurean influence on Gnostic theology. 2. The empty region of Epicurus. Epicurean cosmology posits that the universe consists of atoms moving in the void. Gnostic myth, especially in its Valentinian form, employed this same structure. Tertullian again makes the connection when discussing the myth of Achamoth. Open quote, for Enthymesis, or rather Achamoth, when in company with the vicious passion, her inseparable companion, she was expelled to places devoid of that light which is the substance of the Pleroma, even to the void and empty region of Epicurus, she becomes wretched also because of the place of her banishment. Tertullian. Close quote. The empty region of Epicurus is the void outside the Pleroma. Here the fallen Aeon suffers exile in a place stripped of fullness and form. The resonance with atomism is clear. The Pleroma corresponds to the realm of atoms, what is, while the void beyond corresponds to what is not. The misery of Achamoth is not merely moral, but spatial. She inhabits nothingness, which is worse than form or corruption. 3. Aeons as atoms. This connection between Gnostic cosmology and Epicurean atomism is made explicit. Open quote. Again, adopting the ideas of shade and vacuity from Democritus and Epicurus, they have fitted these to their own views, following upon those teachers who had already talked a great deal about a vacuum in atoms, the one of which they called that which is, and the other that which is not. In like manner, these men call those things which are within the Pleroma real existences, just as those philosophers did the atoms. Against all heresies. Close quote. The Aeons of the Pleroma are here identified with atoms. Just as Democritus and Epicurus posited indivisible units of reality moving in the void, so the Gnostics conceived the Aeons as the building blocks of divine reality. This parallel is not accidental. It reveals that Gnostic mythopoesis often re-expressed Epicurean physics in theological terms. The atomic Aeons thus become the immortal, indivisible principles of the divine order. Number 4. The god of Epicurus, Irenaeus too charges the Gnostics with worshipping not the creator, but the idol god of Epicurus. Open quote, they dream of a non-existent being above him, that they may be regarded as having found out the great god. That is to say, they find out the god of Epicurus, who does nothing either for himself or others. That is, he exercises no providence at all. Close quote. For Epicurus, the gods are inactive, unconcerned with governing the world. Gnostics, in their rejection of the Creator and their claim that the highest God does not rule mundane affairs, are accused of replicating this Epicurean theology. For the heresiologists, this was a scandal. To them, providence defined true divinity. Yet to the Gnostics, as to the Epicureans, divine blessedness meant transcendence from the toil of managing the cosmos. Number 5. The soul is mortal. Epicurean philosophy denies the immortality of the soul. It is composed of atoms, dissolving at death. Remarkably, some Gnostic teachers agreed. Theodotus declares, open quote, "Why even the soul is a body, for the apostle says, it is sown a body of soul, it is raised a body of spirit. The soul is directly shown by its possession of bodily limbs to be a body, Theodotus," close quote. And Heracleon likewise insists, open quote, "The soul is not immortal, but is possessed only of a disposition towards salvation, for it is the perishable which puts on imperishability, and the mortal which puts on immortality when its death is swallowed up in victory." Heracleon, fragment 40, close quote. This doctrine aligns with Epicurean materialism. The soul is bodily, subject to dissolution, and without inherent immortality. Immortality, if it occurs, must be put on, not possessed by nature. Here, Gnostic exegesis converges with Epicurus against the Platonic tradition. Number 6. The corporeality of the Pleroma. Finally, Gnostic teachers rejected the notion of an immaterial Pleroma, open quote, "But not even the world of spirit and of intellect, nor the archangels in the first created, is shapeless and formless and without figure and incorporeal, but he also has his own shape and body. For, in general, that which has come into being is not unsubstantial, but they have form and body, though unlike the bodies in this world." Theodotus, fragment 10, close quote. This is strikingly Epicurean. Epicurus taught that all reality is corporeal, even the gods are bodies of subtle atoms. Likewise, Gnostic teachers affirmed the corporeality of the Aeons and of the Pleroma itself. Spiritual does not mean immaterial, it means finer, purer, and more subtle in constitution. Thus, Gnostic cosmology aligns with Epicurean physics in rejecting incorporeal being altogether. Number 7. Conclusion, toward an Epicurean Gnosticism. The convergence of Gnostic speculation and Epicurean philosophy is undeniable. We find the Bythos compared to Epicurus' placid deity. Achamoth's exile described as being cast into the void of Epicurus. Aeons likened to atoms, indivisible realities in the Pleroma. The highest god accused of being the god of Epicurus. Without providence, the soul declared mortal, composed of body, and only capable of putting on immortality. The Pleroma affirmed corporeal, not immaterial. What emerges is a radical reinterpretation of Gnostic theology, not as a flight from matter into pure spirit, but as a system built upon atomistic and materialist foundations. The Pleroma itself becomes a cosmos of subtle bodies, the Aeons become atoms of divinity, and salvation becomes not escape from corporeality, but transformation into incorruptible corporeality. Epicurean Gnosticism, then, is not a contradiction, but a hidden stream within the tradition, one that saw no need for incorporeal beings, immortal souls, or providential gods. It presented instead a vision of a corporeal fullness, structured by atomic Aeons, and a highest god who, like Epicurus's gods, rests in serene detachment.